What's going on, YouTube? Bacon here, bringing another video. This one going to be the ABC Finals for Season 1. We're going up against my good buddy Jeff once again. We played him during the regular season, picked up a big 5-0 victory, I think, during the regular season. So I was expecting him to switch up his team pretty significantly here coming into Finals. Really quickly, I'll just go into what Jeff has. He actually, I believe last time we played was right before the deadline, so he'd already made all his changes. But his team is Tapu Koko, Mega Medicham, Skarmory, Hydreigon, Mamoswine, Blissey, Araquanid, Salazzle, Roserade, Ditto, Minior, Claydol, and Poisonium Z. Like I mentioned, I was expecting him to kind of switch it up from last time. But last time he brought Koko, Medicham, Skarm, Hydreigon, Mamoswine, and Roserade. I was expecting a similar 6 this time, except maybe exchanging Roserade for like Salazzle, because just looking at the team that I built last time around, Nasty Plot Salazzle really bodied me, because I brought Rotom, Gliscor, Scizor, Infernape, Reuniclus, and Comfey, and the Reuniclus was physically defensive. Comfey obviously doesn't want anything to do with Salazzle. Scizor obviously doesn't want anything to do with Salazzle. Plus 2Z move, nukes Rotom Wash, and plus 2 HP I should be able to knock out Gliscor, so... And then it's naturally faster than my Infernape. Granted, I did have Choice Scarf Infernape with Earthquake last time, but that would literally have been my only check to the Salazzle, and it would just KO him on basically every time it came in anyways. So I was really scared of that in prep this time, and therefore I ended up bringing my Tyranitar. I'll go really quickly through my team builder as well. I put Tyranitar on the team here. Mega Tyranitar with Stealth Rock, Crunch, Fire Blast, and Stone Edge. Fire Blast should 2-hit KO most variants of Skarmory, unless he's running a lot of Spadef, which he actually did last time, probably to handle my Reuniclus. But Fire Blast would 2-hit KO that thing. Potentially, like, first turn of the match, I could just Fire Blast that thing, get off a huge chunk of damage, which would be really nice for my Scizor in the back. But I also brought Stealth Rock for chipping down his team, mainly things like Salazzle, Hydreigon too, even though it's not weak to Stealth Rocks. Coming in on Stealth Rocks over the course of the match will put it closer to being in Bullet Punch range. Same thing with Tapu Koko. Crunch just hits his team incredibly hard. It's a great neutral stab for me to just click versus team. And Stone Edge is for when I need a little bit more damage output versus things like Hydreigon and Tapu Koko. Stone Edge should be able to wallop those things. Not quite an OHKO, but once again, will put them in range of Bullet Punch from my Scizor, or put them in range of my Infernape. Next up, we got Chimpact the Infernape here, which is Muscle Band Blaze Infernape with Fake Out, Flare Blitz, Close Combat, and Stone Edge. I basically had to bring Infernape, because if he brought like Skarm Bliss, it's the only thing on my team that really breaks through that very effectively. So Flare Blitz, Close Combat is really nice for that. Basically, I'll be clicking those two moves for the majority of the game. Fake Out into Flare Blitz should be able to KO regular Mega Medicham. I don't expect him to have too much, if any, HP investment, because I also have Shaman, which is a base 100 Pokemon itself. So I think he'd want to speed tie with that thing. So Fake Out plus Flare Blitz should be able to KO that thing. Last game we played, he led with Medicham and I led with Scarf Infernape, and I just clicked U-turn, and he Fake Outed me on the first turn and did like 36% to me. So I've got the Fake Out this time, so I can ensure that I go first, get a little bit of chip damage off on that Medicham. If he stays in, great. I should be able to knock it out with Flare Blitz. If not, he switches out and something's taking damage. This chip damage is also really nice for Tapu Koko and Hydreigon if it's Scarf. Just being able to Fake Out over the course of the match. Also Salazzle as well, I can Fake Out over the course of the match and get a little bit of chip damage on it. Again, putting them in range of my Scizor in the back was kind of the idea. Stone Edge was mostly there for Araquanid and a potential Minior. I didn't feel like Minior had a very good matchup versus me. I hate that Pokemon anyways, as I probably mentioned during the VPL at some point. But Stone Edge hits that as well. Fake Out plus Stone Edge, I don't believe KOs Araquanid, but it does after rocks, which is important to note. Obviously, it's risky to click Stone Edge in the first place, but if I have to, I have to, you know. Next up, we brought back Rotom Wash. This time, I ran a little bit more Fizz Def on Rotom Wash. Last time, I speed crept the Mamoswine, and then just dumped the rest into HP and a little bit into physical defense. This time I went fully physically defensive, so I could live a high jump kick from the Mega Medicham. The set I ran last time actually dropped to a single Mega Medicham high jump kick. Jeez. This Rotom Wash is Rocky Helmet with Hydro Pump, Volt Switch, Pain Split, and Will-O-Wisp. Will-O-Wisp I opted for this time over Toxic. Last time I just brought Toxic in case he brought like a Jank, Mirror Coat, Araquanid, or something like that. This time I said, screw it, I'm just going to bring Will-O-Wisp. I can click it versus Mamoswine. If he brings Roserade or something like that, I expect it to be Technician to have like HP Fire to whack my Scizor. So any chip damage on that thing over the course of the match would be nice. Same thing with Hydreigon, which is another potential switch-in. So Hydro Pump just hits the Mamoswine particularly hard. Volt Switch is nice versus Skarmory and versus the Araquanid in general. And Pain Split's nice if he brings like Blissey, or if I do take that high jump kick from Medicham, I do live it. I can Pain Split back a lot of health with my Rotom, and also of course chip that thing down with Rocky Helmet damage. Again, putting it in range of my Scizor or my Infernape as well for a Flare Blitz later in the game. Next up, we brought basically the same, I think it's the exact same Scizor set that I brought last time with just a little bit extra speed. Let me see what I was creeping with that, I think. So I brought SD Infernape, not SD Infernape, SD Scizor last time, U-Turn Bullet Punch knockoff. Same set this time around, except I added a little bit more speed on there in case he was running like, I think last time he ran a somewhat faster Skarmory, and I wanted to be able to outrun that thing. I also wanted to be able to outrun like a no-speed Roserade if he happened to end up bringing that. Last time I think he was pretty speedy with an Assault Vest, but just in case I wanted to be able to outrun that, I wanted to be able to outrun things like Claydol as well. Actually, that's, I think, what I crept here was no speed Claydol, just in case he brought like HP Fire on that thing, but it was kind of a physically defensive set. I wanted to be able to outrun that thing and just go for U-turn without having to worry about getting whacked by an HP Fire. But Iron Plate Scizor hits really hard on his team. If I get to a +2 with no Skarmory around, or Skarmory is severely weakened, I should be able to clean him pretty easily. Even Salazzle takes like 65%, I think, from a +2 Bullet Punch from Scizor. So if I can get Rocks Up and just like a Fake Out or something off on that thing, it is in range of a Bullet Punch. And +2 Bullet Punch nukes like his entire team. Medicham, Coco might live, but also again, after a Fake Out, does not. It's just really good versus his team, bar the Skarmory, of course. Next up, we brought Comfey. Same set as last time, exactly the same set. Max HP, a little bit of speed investment, and the rest in the special attack. Leftovers Triage ability with Draining Kiss, Leech Seed, Taunt, and U-Turn. Taunt is nice for things like Blissey and Skarmory. They can't set hazards on me, they can't defog, whatever. Leech Seed is nice for getting some recovery back, particularly from the Blissey, because that thing's HP stat is so massive. Also, if I predict a switch into something like Salazzle, I can Leech Seed that thing. I can also U-turn out, predicting a switch into Salazzle or Roserade, and U-turn out on those. And Draining Kiss is just a nice offensive check for Hydreigon and Mega Medicham. Obviously, it doesn't OHKO either of them, because it's kind of a weak move coming off not such a great special attack stat. But it's going to put in big damage on those things. I mean, they basically can't just sit in front of me, because I'm going to be getting all my health back from Draining Kiss on those two things. He's basically forced to switch out, which could potentially give me a U-turn into an appropriate response. Last thing up here is Gliscor. I changed the set a little bit from last time, but not too much. It's still Max Spadef Gliscor, Defog, Roost, Knockoff, and Earthquake. Last time I had Stealth Rocks on this and Defog on Rotom, but I wanted to free up Rotom for Pain Split. So I slapped Defog on Gliscor instead of, Stealth Rocks, which I have now put on Mega Tyranitar. So otherwise it's the same Gliscor set. Me and Skarmory basically wall each other indefinitely, and he can't hazard stack me because I have Defog. I could potentially knock off a Rocky Helmet or Leftovers on that thing, again making it easier for my Scizor in the back. And I can also spread knockoff around his team on predicted switches, get rid of items throughout the course of the match. Earthquake just hits really hard, specifically against the Coco. This is the main Tapu Koko response on the team. Obviously, I still don't appreciate HP Ice despite the Max Spadef investment, but I could potentially live too, depending on his investment and his item and everything like that. But yeah, that's the team for this time. Changed it up a little bit, but I felt like last time the team worked pretty well, so I just wanted to make these couple of minor changes based on what I noted from our last match, and roll with that. So, getting into the match, as I kind of thought, Salazzle does show up this time instead of the Roserade. So thank God I brought Tyranitar. Otherwise, Salazzle would have been a huge problem for me. And I think Jeff must have watched our match back and picked that up as well. But he brought the same, 4 of the same mons with Mamoswine, Coco, Medicham, and Hydreigon. I was pretty sure those were all going to be returning faces. But instead of Skarmory, he ends up bringing Claydol, which is fantastic for me because the team I built really does not care about Claydol at all. I have no idea what kind of set he'd be running, but Rotom can pretty much come in on that thing all day. I can crunch it with Mega Tyranitar. I can even 2-hit KO it with Flare Blitz from Infernape potentially if he's not running like max Fizz Def. I can knock it off with my Gliscor. I'd expect him to have Ice Beam, but still definitely a concern there. And like I mentioned, I did creep my Scizor for no speed Claydol. He might have HP Fire with like a Tanga Berry or something weird like that. But overall, my team really doesn't care too much about Claydol. I can taunt it with Klefki, things like that. Leech Seed up. He's got no Leech Seed switches because he didn't end up bringing Roserade, which is kind of nice. And obviously his Salazzle seems to be his primary switch-in for the Draining Kiss on Comfey, so gonna have to keep that in mind throughout the course of the match as well. I'm just gonna kind of stick to the plan here and lead off with my Infernape. I'm thinking Tapu Koko is a very likely lead on his end, because he can just U-turn out versus Gliscor or Tyranitar or even my Rotom Wash, or he could just Thunderbolt my Rotom Wash. I don't do too much back to him. Thunderbolt my Scizor, so like I feel like Tapu Koko is pretty much his lead. So I could lead with my Gliscor and my Tyranitar, predicting that, but I also don't want to risk him leading like Medicham, which beats both my Tyranitar and my Gliscor, because I do expect him to have Ice Punch. So I think the kind of best middle ground lead on my part is Infernape, because if he does lead Tapu Koko, which he does, I can just fake that thing out and get a little bit of chip damage off. Every little bit of chip on that Tapu Koko is going to be really nice for later in the game, especially if I can get up Stealth Rocks to put him in range of a +2 Bullet Punch from my Scizor, which I think that one fake out might actually have done the job for. Anyways, here, the Gliscor switch-in is incredibly obvious, so I'm predicting him to either HP Ice or U-turn, so I'm just going to click Flare Blitz. Like, nothing on his team really wants to take a Flare Blitz, even if he's like Scarf Hydreigon or something, he doesn't want to come in on that. And he goes out into Claydol. It turns out this thing is HP invested, but not physically defensive, so it's going to get 2-hit KO'd by the Flare Blitz. That burn does not matter. When it came in, I actually was scared that it was like Scarf Claydol or something jank like that, but after seeing that he had some HP investment in there, I just decided to stay in here and go for another Flare Blitz and pick up a KO on turn 3 here. So great lead for Infernape here. He can go right back out into Tapu Koko. Obviously, I can't fake him out again. But this time, since I got him last time, I think he's going to actually click T-Bolt here. So I'm going to switch out into my Comfey just in case he HP Ices, because I really don't want that to happen as he goes for T-Bolt. And we see that he's no damage boosting item based on that T-Bolt damage. This is just not a very bulky Comfey. I could have run a more specially defensive set. Maybe I should have, because now I'm kind of forced to click Draining Kiss to get out of range of a second T-Bolt. And he reads that and goes out into Salazzle, which is obviously going to take absolutely nothing from this Draining Kiss. But it does allow me to get a little bit more recovery up on my Comfey here, and I'm out of range of another T-Bolt, potentially, from the Tapu Koko. Here I make a little bit of a misplay. I think he's going to double out into Medicham, predicted my Tyranitar, so I clicked U-turn on this turn. But he just makes the smart play and clicks Sludge Wave, attacking what's in front of him. I felt like my Tyranitar or maybe my Gliscor were just like really obvious plays there, and I didn't want to let the Medicham in for free, but Jeff must have read that pretty well and clicked Sludge Wave and knocked out the Comfey, which kind of sucks for me because now I don't have that check in the back for Hydreigon and Medicham. Here, I could go for Stone Edge, but I don't want to miss anything, so I'm just going to click Crunch and get Damage. Damage is all I need for my Scizor to spread it around his team, so any bit of chip on anything is good, and Hydreigon is what comes in here predicting the Crunch. It still takes about 30% and then loses a little bit more from Sandstorm, so he's in range of +2 Bullet Punch as well. +2 Bullet Punch is looking really nice to clean if I can get up Stealth Rocks or chip down the Salazzle a little bit more. Everything's in range at this point, bar the Salazzle. So I'm just going to go out into my Rotom Wash, predicting him to maybe have superpower or to just U-turn out as he does. Again, that's a little bit more chip on Hydreigon, which is starting to make it not so necessary to even click Swords Dance at this point. Tapu Koko comes out, takes a little bit more Sandstorm chip. All this chip is beautiful, beautiful damage. I'm going to go out into Gliscor here in case he's like... I'm going to stay in and just 2-hit KO me with Thunderbolt. He does go for Thunderbolt as I get in the Gliscor correctly. Last time we had this interaction, I just clicked Earthquake as he clicked HP Ice, and I knocked out his Tapu Koko. This time, I've really got no reason not to knock off. Knock off should put him close to in range of a Bullet Punch from Scizor anyways, and it'll get rid of whatever item he's got. He does go for the HP Ice. Does 59% to me as I go for the knockoff, and it turns out he was Shuka Berry, so clicking Earthquake there wouldn't have really helped me out that much in the long run anyways, bar putting him in range of a unboosted Bullet Punch from my Scizor. Now it's technically a roll to KO me with HP Ice here, but this is pretty decent setup fodder for Scizor. The Salazzle still isn't in range yet, but I can put in the hurt on his team by going for a Swords Dance on this thing, so I'm just going to Roost as he goes for U-turn. I really didn't mind if he knocked me out in HP Ice there. with an HP Ice there. It was a roll in his favor to KO me, but he looks like he over-predicted a little bit there and went for U-turn, and now I'm back up to full with my Gliscor. And I've got kind of a similar situation here where the Hydreigon can stay in here, but I'm going to knock off and get rid of whatever item is carrying. I did not know at the time that Hydreigon got Ice Fang. So good prep on Jeff's part, running Expert Belt Ice Fang. He actually ran Physical Hydreigon last time as well. I assumed he would have Superpower for my T-Tar regardless, but he did run Ice Fang this time, unfortunately, which is going to whack my Gliscor. Same play here. I'm going to click Roost again as he goes for another U-turn, potentially again over-predicting. Ice Fang would have knocked me out from that range. He also might not have wanted to let my Infernape in as well. If he KO'd my Gliscor, Infernape just got to come in and click Close Combat, or actually even Flare Blitz if I wanted to. Predict the Hydreigon switching out. So I'm just going to Roost up again, and he brings out the Mamoswine. Rotom Wash is basically just here for this Mamoswine at this point. It would be nice to get a little bit of chip off on the Medicham, but this is really Rotom Wash's job here, and he's got the prep again and brings Freeze Dry, Life Orb, Mamoswine with a lot of special attack investment, it looks like. So I'm actually a little concerned that this thing also has HP Fire for my Scizor. He is in range of a unboosted Bullet Punch here, but he is able to KO my Rotom Wash, so I'm not going to get the chip off that I wanted on the Medicham at least. Again, a potential situation where I could SD here, but I think it's better for me if I just go for a Bullet Punch, either put Salazzle in range of one later in the game, or I kill something with 2 Bullet Punches. So he elects to sack the Hydreigon. I think that was the right play on his part. Really didn't do too much versus the rest of my team, even though it could potentially superpower my Tyranitar and get off some big damage. He goes out into Salazzle here, and again, I'm a little scared of him doubling out into Medicham, but any chip is good chip on Medicham, including sand damage. So I'm going to go out into the Tyranitar and hope he just stays in, which he does, to click Flamethrower. Now this is free rocks for me. Salazzle cannot touch me. He can Will-O-Wisp me, I don't care. He can HP fighting me, it won't 2-hit KO me from this range. I'm just going to click Stealth Rocks and put this thing in range of my Scizor for later in the game. After Stealth Rocks, Salazzle does now die to a +2 Bullet Punch. I'm anticipating him to have crept my Infernape and have some HP investment, but even with that HP investment, he does die to a +2 Bullet Punch, and if he switches in twice, he dies to a neutral Bullet Punch. So again, things are looking really good for Scizor in the back. And I'm just going to stay in here with Tyranitar again. I don't think Tapu Koko can knock me out from this range anyways, and I felt like the Gliscor play was pretty obvious, so I'm just going to Stone Edge and KO that thing as he does go for the HP Ice and does 9% to the Tyranitar because of Sand. So Tyranitar still in here. Now he basically has to go Medicham. He could go Mamoswine if he wanted to. Either way, I'm sacking my Gliscor. It does nothing for me anymore because I'm sure that Salazzle has HP Ice anyways. And I'm sure this Medicham has Ice Punch, so there's no reason for me to keep Gliscor around anymore. Just like before, I'm willing to sack it off as he goes for the Drain Punch, which is a little bit unfortunate because it means that Sandstorm and Rock's Chip aren't going to stick to Medicham because it does have the Drain Punch. But at least this little 6% or so is going to stick, right? So I expect him to knock me out with Ice Punch, but like I said, no reason to save Gliscor anymore. It's done its job. And it can die for all I care at this point in the match. He does go for the Ice Punch to knock me out. Medicham is now at 88%, which should be in range of a Fake Out plus a Flare Blitz from my Infernape. So I've got really no reason not to come in here and click Fake Out. Like I mentioned, if he goes Salazzle, Fake Out plus Rocks is going to put him in range of Bullet Punch from my Scizor. So I'm just going to click Fake Out here. I expect him to go out into Mamoswine because Medicham's too important to knock out my my Tyranitar. So he's just going to sack off the Mamoswine. Again, the right play from Jeff coming out. And this game's coming down pretty close to the wire, actually. Obviously, he doesn't want to go back into Medicham once I knock out this Mamoswine, so he has to go Salazzle and take the Rocks damage. But the question is he going to double into Medicham? Is this the time he's going to double into Medicham? He's brought in Salazzle twice. He's clicked the obvious move twice. I feel like he's going to double out into Medicham. But, if he doesn't, and I stay in, I lose. So I have to swap out. I go Tyranitar, and he does stay in just to click Nasty Plot, which is fine by me. +2 HP fighting will not knock me out from this range, and neither will a +2 Z move crit, like a Pozinium Z move crit. So I just get to click Crunch with Tyranitar, and we win the game. Even if he goes out into Medicham, that thing's going to take way too much damage from Crunch. Actually, I think it drops to Crunch at this range. because it really doesn't have very good defensive stats. So something dies here when I click Crunch. It's going to be the Salazzle, which is fine by me. And now the Medicham's going to come out. The only thing I can't allow the Medicham to do is substitute on me, so I'm just going to stay in here and spam Crunch with Tyranitar until he knocks me out. I've got no reason to do anything else at this point in the match, and Fernape should be able to kill it with Fake Out into Flare Blitz, or at the very least, Fake Out plus Flare Blitz plus Bullet Punch should knock out the Medicham. So we do win the game at this point. Very good game to Jeff. As like I said, he's going to knock out the Tyranitar. We're just going to go out and do Fernape, click that Fake Out plus a little bit of Sand Chip and Flare Blitz will put him in range to die. And we are going to pick up the 2-0 victory in the ABC Finals. So that's another championship under our belts. This is my third Draft League championship. One in the VPL, one in the ABC, and one in Waylord, which I didn't upload. And obviously VPL was Season 2, so that was also not uploaded because I hadn't started yet. But this is my third Draft League championship. Feels good. We went undefeated this season. I just really love my team. Like I said in probably some other videos, I think my team was I had the best draft in the league. Not that other people drafted poorly or anything. I think the UCL style format is nice for getting teams that are just very well rounded, because you can get so many good Pokemon, like 3 OU Pokemon and 3 UU Pokemon alone is fantastic. So I think everybody had like reasonably well-rounded drafts, but I just felt like mine was so difficult to deal with. Like I could bring any number of sets any given week. I could bring any Pokemon any given week. And I just felt like my opponent had to prep for too much on any given matchup. And I think Jeff did kind of the best of anyone throughout the season here. He's actually the only one to get me below a 3-0 during the season. He brought the kind of best prep out of anyone, and that best way to break the team that I had here, I don't mind disclosing now that the season's over. The best way to kind of break the team down is bring the wall breakers, bring the heavy hitters, and just kind of bust through one of the links in the fence. We kind of saw that a little bit last week with Milo's prep, bringing Beware to break through one of the links in the chain. But I think Jeff did it just about right here with Mamoswine being able to help bust through the Rotom, with Medicham being able to bust through Gliscor, being able to bust through Scizor and Tyranitar, and even potentially through Rotom as well. I think Jeff kind of brought the right idea here with a lot of offense. It just didn't quite end up being enough to take me down. But really good game to Jeff. Great season for Jeff, coming in second in the league here. But we are the Season 1 champions for the ABC, so time to go pop that champagne. Thank you guys very much for sticking with us throughout the ABC if you did. I believe I'll be coming back for ABC Season 2. I don't know. We haven't scheduled anything yet, and we may be changing up the format a little bit as well. But keep an eye out for that. I'm also starting a new league soon, the Milky Way Pokemon Association. Season 6 was looking for new coaches, and I applied and was fortunate enough to get into the Earth Division, which is the third out of 4 divisions in the league. So that's going to be coming out soon. That's a free draft style system. The draft is actually currently ongoing. So I'll start uploading content for that soon as well, I think. But yeah, stick around for more VPL content going forward as well. That playoffs is starting soon. And then, yeah, stick around for the Milky Way content as well. Thank you guys very much for watching, and have a good one. Bye-bye.